Daniel Suarez is already a winner 5 races into the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season and bound for the playoffs. He earned that berth in Atlanta in what is considered by most to be one of the most exciting finishes in NASCAR history. He heads to Circuit of the Americas this weekend, where he's qualified well in his previous 2 races, but finished deep in the pack because he was victimized by aggressive driving, including that of his own teammate Ross Chastain last year, which Suarez retaliated after the race and received a $50,000 fine. We sat down and talked about that incident, the fine, the start-finishing line changes NASCAR made to the track for 2024, which Suarez hilariously takes credit for, as well as numerous other topics, including the tire fall-off craziness at Bristol, how NASCAR might remedy this type of situation in the future, and what he thinks of F1's current racing and how it compares to NASCAR. I'd like to welcome to the channel, Daniel Suarez. Appreciate you joining me today. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the upcoming race at COTA, but before we get to COTA, I want to go back to Sunday's race at Bristol, and I just had a quick question. Talk to me about your experience in the 99 car, and was there ever a concern about your car and your team making it to the end on tires?
Well, before the race or during the race?
During the race, because I know I wasn't listening to your radio, but I was listening to some other guys, and they were talking about they weren't sure early on in those first couple of stages if you guys would have enough tires to make it to the end, and we're hoping that NASCAR would open up an allotment and give you another one.
Yeah, so I mean everything was a guessing game, right? And everything, it was quite interesting actually, because it felt like gambling, the entire race, just because you didn't really know, nobody knew, how long really you could push, how long the tires were lasting, take care of the tires, how to take care of the tires, the balance of the race car, are you gonna wear out the right rear or the right front, first, do you run the bottom or you run the middle? What is better for the tires? What is better for the speed? So there were so many unknowns.
Right.
But at the very end, I think that most teams were already kind of knew already what we needed to do. But it was a little bit tricky anyways.
So thinking about that race and the different issues everybody's having with the tire compounds, I spoke to NASCAR today and I asked them the question, and they had Mike Ford had said they hadn't talked about this, but have you ever thought about what if they considered F1's methodology and gave you guys multiple sets of tires of different compounds? Does that eliminate and avoid what we have happen on Sunday?
We already had that experience in the past. And I know that because I almost won that race. It was in the All-Star race. I think it was in 2018 or 17. I can't remember. But I finished second in that race, and that was 17 or 18. Can't remember. But anyway, we had two different compounds, and it was fun. It was fun because you knew what your strategy was going to be. You needed to save tires or push hard, and it was kind of interesting. Obviously, it was a completely different race, right? This is the All-Star race, so it's all or nothing. It's a little bit different than a point race, but I thought it was a very good experiment. I personally enjoyed it.
So there's been this hot topic of debate about horsepower and increasing it. Would Sunday's race, what happened there in increasing off throttle time, did we not achieve kind of the same goal of not being off throttle because the tires are wearing out instead of bumping up the horsepower?
In the last 60 laps, do you know how many times I went wide open?
How many?
None. So, do we need more horsepower? You tell me.
I think we've answered the question. So I know everybody talks about your win at Atlanta, and deservedly so, but just going through the numbers, you're in pretty elite company. So I was looking through the numbers, and you and Kyle Larson have top 20 stage results in all of the stages this year. both of you have one finish outside of the top 20, whereas Martin Truex Jr. has all stages results inside the top 20 and finishes inside the top 20. So I'm curious, what does that tell me about your team, the 99 team this year, with all of those performances inside the top 20 in every stage?
Yeah, so um, we did a lot of work in the off season. The 99 team changed quite a bit from last year to this year, and we still in the adaptation process at this point. I felt that we did a great job in the off season to work towards these points and to work towards trying to build that chemistry as soon as possible. With that being said, we're still young in our group, and I think that honestly, every single race that goes by, there is things that we could have done better as a group, either myself or crew chief or strategy or pit crew. We saw figuring things out, and the good things is that we are making mistakes and having lessons, uh, having okay results. And I'm saying okay results because finishing 13, finishing 15, finishing 18, that's not good. That's not what we're really racing for, but it's much better than having DNFs. So I think we're in the right path. I think we have great people. I think we have a great team behind us, supporting us to continue to make things better, along with Chevrolet as a manufacturer. But yeah, I feel like consistency why I feel like it's been good. With that being said, I think that we have a few things to clean up, but it was expected. I think that we're still working on a few different things. I feel like as a whole in Chevrolet, we still need to get a little bit more speed, especially in short tracks, and we're working very hard for that. And obviously, right now we're very excited to go into the first road course race with this new package, and I know I'm going to be contending there regardless of how the car is, and that's exciting.
Yeah, because Shane's won at a road course, you've won at a road course, Chastain's won at COTA. So you guys have the market, seems like, cornered on road courses. So talking about COTA, I know last year at Ross, you got upset with them on the cool down lap, you paid the price and all that. So they've moved the restart zone up this year, or actually back, I guess. It's to right around when you come around that final turn. So we get to the end of the race this year, overtime. Are we going to avoid that with the restart zone being moved up to that position, or is it going to just be the same calamity corner because the guys are going to be coming up that hill and making that hard turn to the left on turn one?
So first of all, you're welcome because thanks to me that happened. It cost me 50K, but you're welcome, everyone. I think that the main thing there is that in the past, somebody that was running 15th to 20th wanted to get off corner number one being in the top 10. And that's impossible.
Right.
You cannot do that without contact. And unfortunately, this car is very tough, and it can take a lot of contact. So drivers take advantage of that, especially drivers that they know that they don't have a chance of winning the race. And most of the drivers that were making these bold moves, dumb moves, and really moves that you wouldn't make if you were running in the top five, they were coming from the back. And moving this restart zone to where it is now, it's going to make really the top 10 guys are going to be in exactly the same situation, bumper to bumper. The difference is going to be the rows 5, 6, 7, 8, and everything behind, because everything is going to be more spread out in the corner, really. So it's going to be different. It's going to be a little bit of an adaptation process, but I think that in general is a little bit more fair for the guys that are running top 5, top 10 to not have the guys that are running top 15 just trying to hit everyone and move 5 cars out of the way.
Right. Last question. You know, being engaged to Julia and having an F1 family, you know, part of a NASCAR family and an F1 family. I'm just curious, looking through the first 5 races of this season in NASCAR, there's been a combined the margin of victory has been 6.998 seconds, or just shy of 7 seconds for all 5 wins, including your incredible win at Atlanta. Whereas F1, 22 seconds and 13 by Max. So when you hear that, I know what I think as a journalist covering the sport and what fans think, but what do you hear specifically because you have F1 in your family? What do you hear what do you think when you hear those statistics?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased, obviously, because I'm in NASCAR, right?
Right.
And that's pretty much very hard to avoid, to be a little biased.
Sure.
With that being said, also Max is a little bit biased because he's the one that is winning all these races, right?
Right.
But if he wasn't, I think that the perspective would be, man, the races are boring, you know, the cars are so far apart, or you know, the competition is so far apart, you know, before the race weekend, we already know who is going to finish in the podium pretty much. So
Right.
things like that, in my opinion, NASCAR has done a great job making this generic car and giving very, very similar tools to most teams to go out there and compete. In my opinion, Formula One really needs to do something similar because I think it's amazing to have 2 friends, me personally, Checo and Max, that are winning everything right now, because I know these 2 guys very, very well.
Right.
But the races are pretty boring, you know. Like I watch, for the most part, I watch the start of the race, the middle of the race, and the end of the race sometimes. But the races are pretty boring, and it doesn't excite me. You know, we pretty much already who's going to win the race, who's going to finish second, and who knows who's going to finish third. But most likely we know. So I don't think you will ever know for sure who's going to win a race in NASCAR, because there is 10, 15, 20 different guys that can actually win the race. If you tell me who's going to win the race this weekend, you know, you don't know. I mean, there is at least 15 guys that can win the race.
Right.
So that's the difference. And I think that Formula One has such a great fan base and such a great product that they just have to do a better job with the competition somehow.
Right. Hey, Daniel, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with me today. I wish you the best of luck this weekend at COTA, and maybe we'll see you in Victory Lane again.
Let's do that. Thank you, Cal.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Bye.